Hyunwoo Park rubbed his tired eyes and took another sip of cold coffee. The night shift at monitoring station New Seoul was always quiet. Too quiet. He had been watching the star maps and listening to radio signals for 6 hours straight. Nothing interesting ever happened during the night shift. The space station floated silently around Jupiter. Through the big windows, Hyunwoo could see the giant planet's red and orange clouds swirling slowly. Earth was just a tiny blue dot far away. Sometimes he missed home, but this job was important. Someone had to listen for signals from other worlds. Hyunwoo was about to check his watch when something strange happened. A weak signal came through his headphones. It was very faint, like a whisper in a storm. He sat up straight and turned up the volume. The signal was broken and hard to understand. But Hyunwoo had been doing this job for 5 years. He knew what distress calls sounded like. This was definitely someone asking for help. He quickly started recording the signal and ran it through the computer. The translation software worked, slowly trying to make sense of the alien words. Hyunwoo waited, his heart beating faster. After 10 minutes, words started appearing on his screen. The message was from somewhere near the star Vega, 25 light-years away. That was very far, even for space radio signals. "Help us," the message said. "They are killing everyone. Our world is dying. Please, anyone who can hear this, help us." Hyunwoo read the message 3 times. His hands were shaking a little. In all his years of listening to space radio, he had never heard anything like this. He pressed the emergency button on his desk. Red lights started flashing all over the station. Within minutes, his boss would come running to see what was wrong. Commander Ji-eun Kim arrived first. She was a tough woman who had been in space for 15 years. Nothing usually surprised her. But when she saw Hyunwoo's face, she knew something big had happened. "What is it?" she asked. Hyunwoo played the signal for her. They listened together. As the computer translated more of the message, the aliens calling for help were called the Kalani. They lived on a water world called Aquatica Prime. Another alien race called the Thek Empire had attacked them. The Thek were taking everything valuable from their planet and killing anyone who tried to stop them. "How long has this signal been transmitting?" Ji-eun asked. Hyunwoo checked his computer. "At least 3 months, maybe longer. It looks like they set up an automatic system to keep sending the message over and over." Do-hyun Lee, the chief engineer, came running into the room. He was breathing hard from running through the station corridors. "What's the emergency?" he asked. Ji-eun explained about the distress call. Do-hyun listened carefully, his face getting more serious with each word. 3 months, Do-hyun said. "If they've been calling for help that long, why hasn't anyone answered?" That was a good question. Hyunwoo started checking other radio frequencies. If the Kalani were using standard distress signals, other space-traveling races should have heard them too. What he found was disturbing. The signal had been broadcast on all the emergency frequencies that every space civilization used. That meant dozens of alien races had probably heard this call for help. But no one had answered. "Maybe they're too far away," Do-hyun suggested. Ji-eun shook her head. 25 light-years isn't that far for some of the older civilizations. The Galactic Council has ships that could reach Vega in a few weeks. Hyunwoo kept working on the signal. More parts of the message became clear as the computer translated them. The news got worse and worse. The Kalani were a peaceful people who lived in underwater cities. They had never built weapons or fought wars. When the Thek Empire came, they had no way to defend themselves. The Thek weren't just conquering the planet, they were doing something much worse. The message talked about entire cities being destroyed, families being separated, and millions of Kalani being killed or taken as slaves. "This is genocide," Ji-eun said quietly. The 3 humans stood in silence, listening to the desperate message from across the galaxy. Somewhere far away, an entire civilization was dying, and no one seemed to care. Hyunwoo found more technical details in the signal. The Kalani had tried to contact the Galactic Council, the big organization that was supposed to keep peace between different alien races. They had sent messages to 17 different civilizations. None of them had responded. Why won't anyone help them? Hyunwoo asked. Do-hyun had been checking the station's database of known alien civilizations. The Thek Empire is one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. They have hundreds of warships and they've conquered dozens of worlds. Most civilizations are afraid to fight them. Ji-eun was quiet for a long time. She was thinking about something important. Finally, she spoke. "Get me a direct communication line to Earth Space Command," she said. "Ma'am?" Hyunwoo wasn't sure he had heard correctly. "You heard me. I want to talk to Admiral Choi personally. This message needs to reach the highest levels of human government." Do-hyun looked worried. "Commander, we're just a monitoring station. We listen to signals and report them. We don't make decisions about military operations." "These aren't normal circumstances," Ji-eun replied. "An entire civilization is being wiped out, and apparently we're the only ones who care enough to do something about it." Hyunwoo started setting up the communication link to Earth. It would take several hours to reach Admiral Choi because of the distance, but he knew Ji-eun was right. This was too important to ignore. As he worked, he kept thinking about the Kalani message. Somewhere near the star Vega, people were dying. They had called out to the galaxy for help, and everyone had ignored them. Everyone, except humanity. Humans had only been traveling in space for about 200 years. They were still considered newcomers by most alien civilizations. Earth had only 12 spaceships that could travel faster than light. Compared to empires with thousands of ships, humanity was tiny and weak. But maybe being weak didn't matter. Maybe what mattered was being willing to listen when someone called for help. The communication link to Earth was almost ready. Soon, Admiral Choi would hear the same message that Hyunwoo had heard. Then the most important people on Earth would have to decide what to do. Hyunwoo looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Kalani were still fighting to survive. Their automated distress signal was still broadcasting, hoping that someone, somewhere, would care enough to answer. In a few hours, they would have their answer. Hyunwoo just hoped it wouldn't be too late. Admiral Taemin Choi had not slept well in 2 days. The message from monitoring station New Seoul sat on his desk like a heavy weight. He had read it dozens of times, but it still seemed impossible to believe. The emergency meeting room at Earth, Space Command headquarters, was full of important people. Military officers, government officials, and scientists all sat around the big table. Everyone looked tired and worried. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," said General Rodriguez, the head of Earth's Space Forces. "We received a distress call from aliens 25 light-years away. They're being attacked by another alien race, and we're thinking about sending our entire space fleet to help them." Admiral Choi nodded. "That's exactly what we're discussing." "Sir, with respect?" "That's insane," General Rodriguez said. "We have 12 ships. The intelligence reports say the Thek Empire has over 300 warships. This would be suicide." Dr. So Young-yoon raised her hand. She was one of Earth's best experts on alien civilizations. "May I speak?" Admiral Choi nodded to her. "I've been studying the Kalani for 3 years," Dr. Yoon said. "They're one of the most peaceful races we know about. They've never fought a war in their entire history. They live underwater and spend most of their time creating beautiful art and music." "That's very nice," General Rodriguez said. "But it doesn't change the fact that we can't fight the Thek Empire and win," Dr. Yoon continued. 2 years ago, a human research ship got caught in a cosmic storm near the Kalani home system. The ship was badly damaged, and the crew was dying. A Kalani rescue ship found them and saved everyone. They fixed the human ship, gave the crew food and medicine, and asked for nothing in return. The room was quiet. Everyone remembered that story. It had been in all the news reports. "The Kalani could have ignored our people," Dr. Yoon said. "Instead, they risked their own lives to save strangers. Now they're asking for help, and we're going to say no because it's dangerous?" "Dr. Yoon," said Minister Park, the government representative, "I understand your feelings, but we have to think about Earth's safety. If we attack the Thek Empire and lose, they might come after us next." Admiral Choi had been listening to the arguments for hours. He understood both sides. Sending the fleet was dangerous and probably hopeless, but doing nothing felt wrong. "What about the Galactic Council?" asked Colonel Kim. "Shouldn't they be handling this?" "The Galactic Council won't act," Admiral Choi replied. "We've checked. Their official policy is non-interference with Thek territorial expansion. They're too afraid to fight." "So 17 alien civilizations heard this distress call and decided to ignore it?" Dr. Yoon asked. That's correct. Dr. Yoon stood up. She looked angry. Then shame on all of them, and shame on us if we do the same thing. At that moment, there was a knock on the door. Captain Woo Jin Nam entered the room. He was the commander of the Incheon's Pride, Earth's newest and most powerful warship. Admiral, you wanted to see me? Captain Nam, please sit down. We're discussing the Kalani situation. Captain Nam had already heard about the distress call. News traveled fast among the Space Fleet officers. Sir, if I may ask, are we going to help them? Admiral Choi sighed. That's what we're trying to decide. Captain, I need to ask you something directly. If we ordered you to take the fleet to the Vega system, what would you say? Captain Nam didn't hesitate. I'd say yes, sir. When do we leave? General Rodriguez looked surprised. Captain, you understand this would probably be a one-way trip? The Thek Empire will destroy our entire fleet. Maybe, Captain Nam said, but maybe not. And even if they do, at least we'll go down fighting for something important. Fighting for aliens we've never met? Minister Park asked. Fighting for people who need help, Captain Nam corrected. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? Admiral Choi looked around the room. Some people nodded in agreement. Others still looked worried and uncertain. Captain Nam, if we do this, you'll be commanding almost 15% of our trained deep space personnel. These are some of our best people. I understand, sir, and I think they'll volunteer for this mission if you ask them. Dr. Yoon spoke up again. Admiral, I'd like to go too. The Kalani will need medical help, and I know their biology better than anyone else on Earth. Dr. Yoon, this is a military operation, General Rodriguez said. This is a rescue operation, she replied. And rescues need doctors. Admiral Choi was quiet for several minutes. Everyone waited for him to speak. This was the biggest decision humanity had ever faced as a space-traveling civilization. Finally, he looked up. I keep thinking about something. For thousands of years, humans have told stories about heroes. People who did the right thing even when it was dangerous. People who helped others even when they had nothing to gain. This isn't a story, Admiral, Minister Park said. This is real life. People will die. People are already dying, Admiral Choi replied. Millions of them. The question is, what kind of people are we? Are we the kind who help when someone calls for help? Or are we the kind who turn away because it's safer? Captain Nam leaned forward. Sir, I've been thinking about this since I heard the distress call. Every human child grows up hearing stories about brave people who fought against impossible odds. Now we have a chance to be those people ourselves. The odds really are impossible, General Rodriguez said. So were the odds at the Battle of Thermopylae, Captain Nam replied. So were the odds when David fought Goliath. So were the odds for every underdog who ever won against a stronger enemy. Dr. Yoon nodded. And even if we lose, we'll send a message to the galaxy. We'll show them that some people still believe in doing the right thing. Admiral Choi made his decision. Captain Nam, how long would it take to prepare the fleet for departure? 72 hours, sir. Then start preparing. Dr. Yoon, you're going with them. General Rodriguez, I want our best people on this mission. Volunteers only. General Rodriguez looked unhappy, but he nodded. Yes, sir. Minister Park stood up. Admiral, I have to report this to the President and the World Council. They may try to stop you. They can try, Admiral Choi said, but by the time they finish arguing about it, the fleet will already be gone. As the meeting ended, people started filing out of the room. Captain Nam stayed behind. Admiral, do you really think we have a chance? Admiral Choi looked out the window at the stars. Honestly? Probably not. The Thek Empire is too strong and we're too small. But Captain, sometimes, the right thing to do isn't the smart thing to do. Yes, sir, I understand. Captain Nam, there's something else. If we do this, we change everything. Humanity will never be the same. Other civilizations will remember what we did here, win or lose. Captain Nam smiled. Then let's make sure they remember something worth remembering. 3 days later, 12 human ships left Earth's solar system. They were heading toward the Vega system, 25 light-years away. It was the longest journey any human had ever attempted. Most people thought they would never come back. But for the first time in months, the Kalani distress signal wouldn't be answered by silence. Humanity was coming. The 12 human ships moved through space faster than any human vessels had ever traveled before. Chief Engineer Sang-Ho Kang had not slept properly in 5 days. He spent all his time in the engine room of the Incheon's Pride, watching the quantum drive systems work at dangerous levels. How much longer can we push the engines like this? Captain Nam asked over the communication system. Sang-Ho wiped sweat from his face. The engine room was hot and loud. Maybe 1 more week, sir. After that, we risk complete system failure. We need 3 weeks to reach the Vega system. I know, sir. I'm working on it. All across the human fleet, engineers were facing the same problem. The ships were traveling at 110% of their safe speed. The quantum drives were overheating, and some systems were already starting to break down. But they had no choice. Every day they delayed meant more Kalani would die. Navigator Yunbi Song was working in the main computer room, checking their course for the 100th time. She had calculated that they would arrive at Aquatica Prime exactly 3 weeks and 2 days after leaving Earth. The problem was, they might be too late. Communications Officer Junho Han had been trying to get more information from the Kalani distress signal. The message was still broadcasting automatically, but it was getting weaker. Either the transmitter was running out of power, or the Thek were destroying the equipment that sent it. I'm getting some new information, Junho announced to the bridge crew. The signal is coming from underwater. It looks like some Kalani are hiding in the deepest parts of their oceans. Captain Nam looked at the star charts. Can we contact them directly? I'm trying, sir, but it's very difficult. The signal has to travel 25 light years, then go through water to reach them. And we have to be careful not to let the Thek detect our transmissions. Dr. So Young-yoon was studying all the medical and scientific data they had about the Kalani. What she learned made her sick to her stomach. Captain, I need to tell you something terrible, she said during the daily briefing. What is it, Doctor? I've been analyzing the intelligence reports about Thek conquest methods. They're not just taking over Aquatica Prime, they're committing genocide. The bridge crew became very quiet. Dr. Yoon continued. The Kalani have a unique biology. Their bodies can process certain rare minerals that are found in their ocean water. The Thek are using them as living mining equipment. What does that mean? Navigator Song asked. It means they're forcing the Kalani to extract valuable materials from their own planet. When a Kalani becomes too weak or sick to work, the Thek kill them and find a new one. Captain Nam felt sick. How many Kalani are left? Based on the original population data and the timeline of the Thek invasion, I estimate maybe 2 million survivors out of an original population of 50 million. The number was so large it was hard to understand. 48 million people had already died, and more were dying every day. Sang-Ho's voice came over the communication system from the engine room. Captain, I've got some good news and some bad news. Give me the good news first. I found a way to increase our speed by another 5%. We can cut 4 days off our travel time. And the bad news? If we do this, we'll definitely have engine failures before we reach Aquatica Prime. Some ships might not make it. Captain Nam thought for a moment. 4 days could mean saving thousands of lives. Do it, he said. Over the next week, the human fleet pushed even harder through space. 3 ships had serious engine problems. The cargo ship Soul Carrier had to stop for 6 hours to make emergency repairs. The destroyer Busan Thunder lost one of its quantum drive units completely, but they kept going. Junho finally managed to establish contact with the Kalani resistance. The signal was very weak and full of static, but they could talk to someone on Aquatica Prime. The Kalani who answered called himself Nalthi. He was one of the leaders of the surviving resistance groups hiding in the deep ocean trenches. Humans of Earth, Nalthi's translated voice came through the speakers. We cannot believe you have come so far to help us. We're still 2 weeks away, Captain Nam replied. Can you hold on that long? There was a long pause. We will try, but the Thek are searching for us with new equipment. They know we are here somewhere. Dr. Yoon took over the communication. Nalthi, this is Dr. So Young-yoon. I'm a human doctor who has studied your people. How many survivors are there? In our group, maybe 30,000. We know of 4 other groups, but we lost contact with 2 of them last week. The numbers were even worse than Dr. Yoon had feared. What do you need most right now? Medicine, Nalthi replied immediately. Many of our people are sick from hiding in the deep water for so long. And food. The Thek have poisoned most of our food sources. Dr. Yoon started making lists of medical supplies they would need. The human ships carried some medicine, but not enough for thousands of sick Kalani. Nalthi, Captain Nam said, we need to know about Thek military strength. How many ships do they have in your system? We count at least 40 large warships, and maybe 100 smaller ones, but more ships arrive every few days. Captain Nam's heart sank. The intelligence reports from Earth had estimated 30 Thek ships. The real number was much higher. Navigator Song did quick calculations in her head. Captain, if there are that many Thek ships, we'll be outnumbered more than 10 to 1. I know, Captain Nam said quietly. That night, Captain Nam called a meeting. Of all ship commanders, they used secure communication links to talk to each other across the fleet. I want everyone to understand our situation clearly, he began. We're going into a battle we probably can't win. The Thek have more ships, bigger weapons, and more experience fighting wars. Captain Lee of the destroyer Mokpo Storm spoke first. Sir, are you asking if we want to turn around? I'm asking if anyone wants to change their mind. This is the last chance to go home safely. There was silence for almost a minute. Then Captain Park of the Soul Carrier spoke up. Sir, my crew took a vote yesterday. We're all volunteers, and we all want to continue the mission. One by one, each ship commander said the same thing. No one wanted to turn back. All right then, Captain Nam said. Let's talk about strategy. We can't win a straight fight, so we need to be smart about this. Engineer Chang Wook Bae from the science vessel. New Daegu had been studying Thek technology during the journey. Captain, I might have found something useful. Our quantum resonance technology seems to interfere with Thek energy shields. What does that mean? It means our weapons might be more effective than we thought. Thek shields are designed to stop conventional energy weapons, but our quantum pulse cannons work differently. This was the first good news they had received in days. How big an advantage does this give us? Captain Nam asked. Hard to say. Maybe it evens the odds a little, but we're still badly outnumbered. Dr. Yoon had been listening to the conversation. Captain, what if winning the battle isn't the most important thing? What do you mean, Doctor? What if the most important thing is saving as many Kalani as possible? Even if we can't defeat the Thek, maybe we can evacuate the survivors. Din. Nam thought about this. A rescue mission instead of a battle. It still meant fighting the Thek, but the goal would be different. It's possible, he said, but we'd need to find all the survivor groups and get them off the planet quickly. Navigator Song pulled up maps of the Aquatica Prime system. The planet has 3 small moons. If we could get the Kalani to one of the moons, they'd be safer. And then what? Captain Lee asked. We can't take 2 million people back to Earth. No, Dr. Yoon said, but maybe we can find them a new home somewhere else. As the meeting ended, each ship commander returned to their vessels with new orders. They were no longer just going to fight the Thek Empire. They were going to attempt the largest rescue operation in human history. In the deep space between stars, 12 small human ships continued their impossible journey. Behind them was the safety of Earth. Ahead of them was almost certain death. But somewhere in the darkness of the Vega system, people were waiting for help. And that was enough to keep them moving forward. The human fleet dropped out of quantum space at the edge of the Aquatica Prime system. What they saw made everyone stop talking. Massive Thek warships floated above the blue-green planet like dark metal clouds. Some ships were as big as cities. They had giant mining equipment attached to their hulls, and streams of material flowed from the planet's surface up to the ships. Dear God, whispered Dr. So Young Yoon. They're strip mining the entire planet. Captain Nam stood on the bridge of the Inchin's Pride, watching the enemy fleet through the main viewing screen. He counted at least 50 large warships and twice as many smaller vessels. The human intelligence reports had been completely wrong. Captain, Navigator Song said quietly, we're detecting over 140 Thek ships. The bridge crew was silent. Everyone knew they were looking at their own deaths. Communications Officer Jun Ho contacted the other human ships. All vessels, this is the Incheon's Pride. Maintain radio silence and move to defensive positions. The 12 human ships spread out across space, trying to look like they belonged there. But Captain Nam knew it wouldn't work for long. The Thek would detect them soon. "Sir," said Junho, "I'm receiving a message from Nalthi on the planet." "Put him through." Nalthi's voice was weak and full of static. "Human ships, thank the depths you have come, but you must leave immediately. There are too many Thek. They will destroy you." "We didn't come this far to leave," Captain Nam replied. "Where are the survivor groups?" "We are hiding in the Mariana Deep, the deepest trench on our world. But the Thek are searching for us with new equipment. They will find us soon." Dr. Yoon took over the communication. "Nalthi, how many people are with you?" 28,000 in our group. We lost contact with the other groups 3 days ago." Captain Nam felt sick. They had traveled 25 light years to save maybe 30,000 people. Millions more were already dead. "Sir," Engineer Changwook Bay called from his station, "I'm detecting energy signatures from the planet's surface. The Thek are using some kind of deep ocean scanning equipment. They're hunting the survivors," Dr. Yoon said. Captain Nam made a decision. "All ships, prepare for battle. We're implementing Protocol Prometheus." Protocol Prometheus was the desperate plan they had developed during the journey. Half the fleet would attack the Thek ships directly, trying to draw their attention. The other half would use stealth technology to reach the planet and evacuate survivors. "Captain," said Chief Engineer Sang Ho over the communication system, "the quantum drives are barely holding together. If we push them too hard in battle, some ships will lose power completely." "Understood. How long can we maintain full combat power?" "Maybe 2 hours. After that, we start losing ships to engine failure. 2 hours to fight over 100 enemy warships and evacuate 30,000 people. It was impossible." "Sir," Navigator Song said, "the Thek have detected us. 3 large warships are moving in our direction." Captain Nam looked at his crew. These people had volunteered to die for strangers they had never met. Now it was time to see if their sacrifice would mean anything. "All ships, begin the attack." The human fleet split into 2 groups. Captain Nam led 6 ships directly toward the largest concentration of Thek warships. The other 6 ships, led by Captain Park of the Soul Carrier, used stealth systems to approach the planet. Pilot Min Seo Lim launched her fighter squadron from the Inchen's Pride. 12 small human fighters raced toward the massive Thek fleet. "Fighters, this is Min Seo," she said over the radio. "Remember, we're not trying to win. We're trying to buy time for the evacuation." The first exchange of weapons fire lit up space like a deadly fireworks show. Thek energy beams lanced out toward the human ships. Human quantum pulse cannons fired back. Engineer Chang Wook's discovery proved to be true. The quantum pulse weapons went right through Thek energy shields like they weren't even there. The first Thek ship hit by human weapons exploded in a brilliant flash. "Direct hit!" shouted someone on the communication channel, but the celebration didn't last long. More Thek ships were turning toward the human fleet. For every shot the humans fired, 10 shots came back at them. The destroyer Mokpo Storm took a direct hit to its main engine. The ship spun out of control, trailing fire and debris. "Mokpo Storm, report," Captain Nam called. "We're alive, but barely. Engine room is gone. We're fighting on emergency power only." Min Seo's fighter squadron dove between the huge Thek warships, firing at whatever targets they could find. The small fighters were too fast for the big Thek weapons to hit easily. "This is crazy!" shouted Lieutenant Jin Ho over the fighter radio. "These ships are huge!" "Stay focused," Min Seo replied. "Target their scanning equipment. If we can blind them, they can't find the survivors on the planet." Meanwhile, Captain Park's stealth group had reached Aquatica Prime. The cargo ships Soul Carrier and Gwangju Hope began landing operations in the deep ocean where Nalthi's group was hiding. Dr. Yoon was on the Soul Carrier, wearing a special underwater suit. She dove into the alien ocean to help coordinate the evacuation. The water was darker than anything she had ever seen. Strange alien fish swam past her, their bodies glowing with natural light. In the distance, she could see the lights of Kalani underwater vehicles approaching. "Dr. Yoon," came Nalthi's voice through her underwater radio. "You really came. We thought we would die down here." "Not if we can help it," Dr. Yoon replied. "How fast can you get your people to our ships?" "We have transport vehicles that can carry 500 people at a time, but it will take many trips." Dr. Yoon did quick math in her head. 28,000 people, 500 at a time. That was 56 trips minimum. Even if each trip took only 10 minutes, they needed at least 9 hours, but the battle above would be over in 2 hours. "We need to move faster," she told Nalthi. "Can you fit more people in each vehicle?" "We can try, but many of our people are sick and weak." Back in space, the battle was getting worse for the humans. 3 Thek dreadnoughts had joined the fight. Each one was bigger than the entire human fleet combined. Captain Nam watched his ships take hit after hit. The science vessel New Daegu had lost all weapons and was using its remaining power to maintain life support. The destroyer Busan Thunder was missing half its hull but still fighting. "Sir," Communications Officer Junho said, "I'm receiving a message from the Thek Fleet Commander." "Put it through." A harsh alien voice spoke in translated English. "Human vessels, you are trespassing in Thek territory. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." Captain Nam thought for a moment before answering. "This is Captain Woo Jin Nam of the Earth Space Navy. We are here on a humanitarian mission. We're rescuing refugees." "There are no refugees. There are only Thek resources and Thek property. Leave now or die." "Then I guess we die," Captain Nam replied. The Thek response was immediate. Every enemy ship in the area opened fire on the human fleet at the same time. The small cargo ship Daejeon Express exploded instantly. 23 people died in 1 second. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Captain Nam shouted. But there was nowhere to run. The Thek ships surrounded them completely. Minseo's fighter squadron was down to 8 ships. They kept attacking, even though their weapons could barely scratch the huge enemy vessels. "Minseo!" called Captain Nam. "How much damage are you doing? Up there?" "Not enough, sir. But we destroyed 2 of their scanning stations. That should help the evacuation." On the planet, Dr. Yoon was helping sick Kilani into the evacuation ships. Many of them were so weak they could barely swim. Others had injuries from Thek weapons. "How many more trips?" she asked Nalthi. 15, maybe 20. Dr. Yoon looked at her watch. The battle had been going on for 90 minutes. "Captain Nam's ships couldn't last much longer. We need to speed this up," she said. "Can we overload the transport vehicles?" "It's dangerous. If one vehicle fails, hundreds of people will drown. If we don't take the risk, everyone will die anyway." Nalthi nodded sadly. He understood. In space, the human fleet was falling apart. Only 7 ships were still fighting. The Incheon's Pride had damage to its main weapons, and Captain Nam could see cracks forming in the bridge windows. "Sir," Engineer Sang-ho called from the engine room. "Quantum drive is at critical levels. We have maybe 10 minutes before complete failure." Captain Nam looked at the tactical display. The Thek still had over 100 ships. The humans had accomplished nothing except dying bravely, but then something unexpected happened. "Captain," Navigator Song said, "I'm detecting new quantum signatures at the edge of the system." "More Thek reinforcements?" "No, sir. These signatures are different. Very different." Captain Nam turned to look at the long-range sensors. What he saw made him wonder if he was dreaming. Ships were appearing out of quantum space. Lots of ships. And they weren't Thek. "Sir," Junho said in amazement, "I'm receiving communication, signals from multiple alien civilizations. They're saying they're here to help." For the first time in 2 hours, Captain Nam smiled. "Well," he said, "I guess the cavalry finally arrived." 3 hours earlier, on the planet Zentari Prime, Elder Council member Vex Tar was working late in his office. The Zentari were one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. They had been traveling between stars for over 10,000 years. Vextar was reading reports about trade agreements when his assistant rushed into the room. "Elder Vextar, you need to see this immediately." "What is it, Coleman?" "There's a live transmission coming from the Vega system. Some aliens called humans are fighting the Thek Empire." Vextar was confused. "Humans? I've never heard of them." "They're a very young species, sir. They've only had space travel for about 200 years. Vextar followed his assistant to the communication center. On the main screen, he could see images from space near Aquatica Prime. Small ships were fighting much larger ones. "These humans," Vextar said. "How many ships do they have?" 12, sir. "And how many Thek ships?" "Over 100. Vextar stared at the screen. "Are the humans insane?" "I don't think so, sir. Listen to their communications." Coleman played some of the radio transmissions from the human fleet. Vextar heard Captain Nam talking to his crew about saving Kalani refugees. He heard Dr. Yoon coordinating medical evacuations. He heard Min Seo's fighter pilots joking with each other as they attacked ships 10 times their size. They came to rescue the Kalani? Vextar asked. Yes, sir. Even though the Kalani have nothing to offer them in return. Vextar was quiet for a long time. The Zentari had received the same Kalani distress call that everyone else had heard. The council had voted not to respond because fighting the Thek was too dangerous. But these humans had come anyway. On the screen, Vextar watched a human fighter pilot ram his damaged ship into a Thek cruiser to save a Kalani evacuation vessel. The pilot died instantly, but hundreds of Kalani refugees escaped. Coleman, Vextar said, get me Admiral Kethaval immediately. Sir, you heard me. And contact the other council elders. Tell them we're having an emergency meeting. Meanwhile, on New Avalon, the insectoid Chitani queens were also watching the transmission. The Chitani were very different from humans. They looked like giant ants and thought in ways that other species found strange. Queen Zixandra was in her royal chamber when the images from Aquatica Prime appeared on her communication screen. Fascinating, she said to her advisor, Worker. Prime Thek Zone. These humans fight like they don't care about dying. Yes, my queen. Very unusual behavior. Queen Zixandra watched as human ships continued fighting even after taking heavy damage. She saw crews working to repair their weapons, while enemy fire exploded around them. Worker Prime, how long have these humans been in space? Less than 3 centuries, my queen. And they chose to fight the Thek Empire to save strangers? That appears to be correct, my queen. Queen Zixandra was impressed. The Chitani respected. Courage above all else. These humans might be young and weak, but they had courage. Contact the fleet queens, she ordered. Tell them to prepare for immediate departure. The transmission from Aquatica Prime was spreading across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Human quantum communication technology was more advanced than most aliens realized. The signal was reaching dozens of star systems simultaneously. On Morav 6, the crystalline Moravians were holding their daily crystal song ceremony when the images interrupted their meditation. The Moravians communicated through musical tones, instead of words. When they saw the human ships fighting, their crystal formations began to resonate with new harmonies. The small ones from distant stars sing songs of sacrifice, sang Crystal Elder Thrumnall. They sing for others, not self. Others, not kin, replied Crystal Keeper Vashmore. This is new song, unknown harmony, Thrumnall observed. The Moravians had never heard of anyone fighting for strangers with no hope of reward. In their culture, such behavior was considered the highest form of harmony. Prepare the bioships, Thrumnall sang. We go to add our voices to this new song. On Helios Station, the Mechanical Helix Collective was analyzing the human battle tactics. The Helix were artificial intelligences who had replaced their organic creators thousands of years ago. Unit Prime 7 Alpha was processing the tactical data when something unexpected happened. The human behavior patterns didn't match any known military strategies. Analysis. Human tactics are mathematically inefficient, reported Unit Prime 7 Alpha. Confirmed. Victory probability approaches 0, agreed Unit Prime 12 Beta. Query. Why do humans continue fighting? Unit Prime 7 Alpha ran the question through its logic processors for several minutes. Finally, it reached a conclusion. Hypothesis. Humans are not fighting to win. Humans are fighting to preserve non-combat entities despite personal cost. Analysis. This behavior serves no logical purpose. Counter-analysis. This behavior serves purposes beyond logic. For the first time in their existence, the Helix units were confused by organic behavior, but they were also curious. Decision. Deploy investigation fleet to study human irrationality. Back on Aquatica Prime, the human evacuation was still continuing. Dr. Yoon had helped load nearly 20,000 Kalani refugees onto the human ships. But the process was too slow. Now she said through her underwater communicator. We need to move the remaining people faster. Dr. Yoon, our transport vehicles are at maximum capacity. We cannot go faster without risking accidents. Above them in space, the battle was reaching its climax. Only 5 human ships were still operational. Captain Nam's fleet had fought for over 2 hours against impossible odds. "Sir," Communications Officer Jun Ho reported, "the quantum broadcast system is still transmitting our signals across the galaxy." "Good," Captain Nam replied. "At least, people will know we tried." "Captain," Navigator Song said, "I'm detecting massive quantum signatures approaching the system. More Thek ships?" "No, sir. These are different. Much different. The first ships to arrive were from the Zentari Republic. 50 advanced warships dropped out of quantum space and immediately opened fire on the Thek fleet." Admiral Kethval's voice came over the human communication channels. "Human vessels, this is Admiral Kethval of the Zentari Liberation Fleet. We're here to assist." Captain Nam couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Admiral, why are you here?" "Because you showed us something we had forgotten, Captain Nam. You showed us what it means to fight for something bigger than yourself." More ships kept arriving. The Chitani biofleet appeared next, their living vessels looking like giant flying insects. Then came the Moravian crystal ships, singing battle harmonies that could be heard across space. Even the mechanical Helix Collective sent ships, their angular vessels bristling with advanced weapons. "This is impossible," said the Thek fleet commander, over the radio. "The Galactic Council voted for non-interference." "The Galactic Council doesn't speak for everyone," Admiral Kethval replied. "And today, we're writing new rules." The tide of battle changed completely. The Thek Empire was powerful, but they couldn't fight half the galaxy at the same time. Their ships began retreating toward the edge of the system. "Don't let them escape," ordered Queen Zixandra. "They must pay for their crimes." But Crystal Elder Thrumnall sang a different harmony. "Let them flee." "Today we sing songs of rescue, not revenge," Admiral Kethval agreed. "All ships, focus on protecting the evacuation. Let the Thek go." Dr. Yoon heard the news while she was helping the last group of Kalani refugees. "Nalthi, do you hear that? We're saved." "I hear it, Dr. Yoon, but I do not understand. Why did they come?" Dr. Yoon smiled, even though her face mask hid her expression. "Because sometimes, when you do the right thing, other people remember how to do the right thing too." In space above them, over 200 ships from a dozen different civilizations were working together to evacuate the surviving Kalani. The massive alien fleets made the human ships look tiny by comparison. But Captain Nam noticed something interesting. All the alien commanders kept asking the humans for orders. Even though they had bigger ships and more experience, they were looking to humanity for leadership. "Captain Nam," Admiral Kethval said, "what are your evacuation plans?" "We're ready. To assist." "Admiral, you have hundreds of ships. Why are you asking me?" "Because this was your idea, Captain. You started this. We're just following your example." As the evacuation continued, more alien fleets kept arriving. News of the battle was spreading across the galaxy at the speed of light. Civilizations that had ignored the Kalani distress call for months were now racing to help. "Sir," Communications Officer Jun Ho reported, "I'm receiving messages from 37 different species. They're all asking how they can help." Captain Nam looked around his damaged bridge. His ship was barely functioning. His crew was exhausted, and they had lost good people in the battle, but they had also started something that would change the galaxy forever. "Jun Ho," he said, "send a message to Earth Space Command. Tell them we're going to need bigger ships." The rescue of Aquatica Prime took 3 days to complete. When it was over, nearly 200,000 Kalani had been saved from certain death. Ships from 47 different civilizations worked together to evacuate the survivors and find them new homes. Captain Wu Jin Nam stood on the bridge of the Incheon's Pride, watching the massive convoy of ships preparing to leave the Vega system. His own ship was badly damaged and would need months of repairs, but they had accomplished something incredible. "Sir," Communications Officer Jun Ho said, "I'm receiving a message from the Kalani refugees. They want to thank us personally." "Put them through." Nalthi's voice came over the speakers. He was aboard one of the Zentari hospital ships, where Dr. So Young Yoon was treating injured Kalani. "Captain Nam," Nalthi said, "my people have asked me to speak for all of us. We know that humans came the furthest to help us, and lost the most in the fighting. How can we ever repay you?" Captain Nam thought about the question. 29 humans had died in the battle. The human fleet had lost 2 ships completely. Earth's entire space navy would need to be rebuilt. Nalthi, he said finally. Just remember that when someone else calls for help someday, you answer. That's all the payment we need. Dr. Yoon's voice joined the conversation. Captain, the Kalani have something they want to give us. They're offering to share their medical knowledge with Earth. Their understanding of underwater medicine could help humans in many ways. That's very generous, Captain Nam replied. But we didn't come here for rewards. We know, Nalthi said. That's exactly why we want to give them to you. As the convoy began moving toward Kalani's new homeworld, Admiral Kethaval contacted Captain Nam privately. Captain, I need to ask you something. When you decided to come here, did you expect this to happen? You mean the other civilizations showing up? No, Admiral. We thought we would die fighting alone. Then why did you come? Captain Nam looked out at the stars. It was the same question everyone had been asking. Because it was the right thing to do. Sometimes that's the only reason you need. Admiral Kethaval was quiet for a moment. Captain, 47 civilizations participated in this rescue. Before today, most of us had never worked together on anything. We were too suspicious of each other, too afraid of getting involved in other people's problems. And now? Now we're talking about forming a permanent alliance. A real one, not like the Galactic Council that just talks and does nothing. We want to call it the Aquatica Accords. Captain Nam was surprised. An alliance? Admiral, humanity doesn't have much to offer. We're still learning how to travel between stars. Captain, you don't understand. You've already given us the most important thing. You reminded us what it means to have principles. Over the next several weeks, representatives from dozens of civilizations traveled to Earth to negotiate the Aquatica Accords. The meetings were held in Geneva, the same place where Admiral Tae-min Choi had made the decision to help the Kalani doctor. So Young-yoon was appointed as humanity's chief negotiator. She had become famous across the galaxy for her work treating Kalani refugees during the evacuation. The basic principles are simple, she explained to the Earth government leaders. If any civilization faces extinction, the others will help. No one fights alone anymore. But Dr. Yoon, asked Minister Park, what if we can't help? What if the enemy is too strong? Then we try anyway, she replied. Just like we did at Aquatica Prime. The negotiations took 2 months. Some civilizations wanted complicated rules about when to intervene and how much help to provide. But the Kalani delegate, now Ambassador Nalthi, kept bringing the discussions back to basics. The humans didn't ask for permission, he reminded everyone. They didn't wait for approval from committees. They heard someone calling for help and they answered. That's what this alliance should be about. The final ceremony was held on Aquatica Prime's largest moon, which had been converted into a memorial for the Kalani who died during the Thek invasion. Representatives from 73 civilizations attended. Captain Nam, now promoted to Admiral, gave the opening speech. 6 months ago, humanity was alone in the galaxy, he said. We had a few small ships and big dreams. Today, we're part of something larger than any of us imagined. He looked out at the crowd of aliens from across the galaxy. Zentari, Chitani, Moravians, Helix units, and dozens of other species all listened to his words. The Kalani taught us something important, Admiral Nam continued. They showed us that asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of hope, and hope is something worth fighting for. When the ceremony ended, the representatives signed the Aquatica Accords. For the first time in galactic history, civilizations committed to protecting each other based on shared values instead of shared interests. Admiral Kethaval found Admiral Nam after the signing. Congratulations, Admiral. Your species just became one of the founding members of the largest alliance in galactic history. It doesn't feel real, Admiral Nam admitted. A year ago, most people on Earth didn't even know aliens existed. A year ago, most aliens didn't know humans existed either. Now everyone wants to be humanity's friend. Why do you think that is? Admiral Kethaval smiled. Because you did something that no one else was willing to do. You risked everything for strangers. That kind of courage is rare in the galaxy. As the ceremony concluded, Admiral Nam received a message from Earth. Admiral Choi was requesting an immediate communication link. Admiral Nam, Admiral Choi said when the connection was established. I have some news from home. The World Council has approved construction of 50 new starships. It seems everyone wants to join the Space Navy now. 50 ships? Sir, that's more than we've ever built. That's not all. 17 alien civilizations have offered to help with the construction. They're sharing technology, providing materials, and sending engineers. Earth is becoming the headquarters for something called the Rapid Response Fleet. Admiral Nam was amazed. A Rapid Response Fleet? Ships specifically designed for rescue operations, fast, well-armed, and equipped for humanitarian missions. The other civilizations want human officers to command them. Why humans? Because apparently, we're the only species crazy enough to fight hopeless battles for the right reasons. 3 months later, Admiral Nam was aboard the new flagship Soul's Hope, leading a fleet of 30 ships toward the Rigel system. Another distress call had been received, this time from a species called the Vorthon, who were being attacked by space pirates. But this time, humanity wasn't going alone. Ships from 12 different civilizations were part of the rescue fleet. When they arrived at Rigel, they found 40 more alien ships already waiting to help. "Admiral," Communications Officer Jun Ho reported, "the pirates are retreating. They're saying they don't want to fight the Aquatica Alliance." "The Aquatica Alliance? That's what people are calling us now, sir." Admiral Nam smiled. The name was perfect. As the rescue operation concluded successfully, Admiral Nam thought about how much had changed. 6 months ago, the Kalani distress call had seemed like a hopeless situation. Now, because humanity had answered that call, the galaxy was a different place. Dr. So-Young Yoon, now serving as the Alliance's chief medical officer, joined him on the bridge. "Admiral, I've been thinking about something Nalthi said during the negotiations." "What was that, Doctor?" "He said that before humans came to Aquatica Prime, most civilizations in the galaxy were afraid. Afraid of war, afraid of getting involved, afraid of making mistakes. But humans taught them that being afraid doesn't matter if you do the right thing anyway." Admiral Nam nodded. "Fear is normal, Doctor. Courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about being afraid and doing the right thing anyway." "Is that why you came to Aquatica Prime, even though you knew you might die?" Admiral Nam looked out at the stars, where ships from dozens of different worlds were working together to protect a species they had never met before. "Doctor, someone was calling for help. What else were we supposed to do?" As the Soul's Hope prepared to return to Earth, Admiral Nam made his final log entry about the Rigel rescue mission. Personal log, Admiral Wu Jin Nam. "The Vorthon evacuation is complete. All civilian populations have been relocated to safe worlds, and the pirate threat has been eliminated. 43 Alliance ships participated in the operation, with 0 casualties." He paused, thinking about how to summarize what they had accomplished. "It's been 8 months since we first heard the Kalani distress call. At the time, it seemed like a simple decision. Someone needed help, so we went to help them. We never imagined that choice would change the entire galaxy." He looked around the bridge at his crew. Some of them had been with him since that first desperate journey to Vega. Others were new recruits inspired by the stories of humanity's first rescue mission. Today, the Aquatica Alliance includes over 90 civilizations. The Rapid Response Fleet has conducted 17 successful rescue operations. Not a single distress call has gone unanswered. Admiral Nam closed his log and prepared for the journey home. Earth was different now, too. The planet that had once felt isolated and alone was now the center of the largest alliance in galactic history. But the most important thing hadn't changed at all. When someone called for help, humanity would answer. And now, thanks to the Aquatica Alliance, they wouldn't have to answer alone.